What do you miss about the States? What do you think that when you get back, you are going to be like, oh, thank God?
There are a couple things. Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katy Sewall and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katy Sewall.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
A view on what it's like to live as an expat from a person who's temporarily one. I'm only living abroad in Rome for a year. And Tiffany, who has the long view. She's been here for 10 years.
10 years and counting.
Yes, and we are indeed in Rome, Italy, as usual, back in our normal location, on my bed, in my apartment. It's the quietest place in Rome, probably. So if you're ever here, and I'm still here, give me a ring, and you can come sit in the quiet for a little while.
If you want to visualize it, it's a loft bed. Kind of feel like I'm in a sailboat, sort of. The curtain, that if you opened the curtain, you'd fall out down onto the floor.
Right.
That makes sense.
I know, that sounds so dangerous, and I actually have visions of falling off of the bed. But upside of that is that it has a nice curved ceiling, and it's nice and cozy and tiny, and even though I live in a very loud place, it ends up sounding like we're in a radio studio.
It's great.
It is great. I'm going to miss this loft when I go home.
Maybe you shouldn't go home.
Well, I know. And we are coming up, but well, it's not right around the corner. I am starting
right around the corner. I'm stressing out about it, that you leaving. I'm worried. I'm worried about how I'm going to react when you're not just down the street anymore.
I know. But really, when we think about it, in how many shows we'll probably do between then and now, it's not really around the corner. But it's looming close enough now that it's easy to visualize and see that it's coming to an end. Or it will one day come to an end.
I suppose it will one day. Hopefully not soon, though. I'm still holding out hope that you're going to decide to stay another year. I know that's kind of a pipe dream, but that's my hope.
You never know. You never know. There are certain things I'm looking forward to, though, about getting home.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you, what do you miss about the States? What do you think that when you get back, you are going to be like, oh, thank God?
There are a couple things. And mainly this came up with all my visitors being in town. People kept asking me, what are you looking forward to when you get home? And the things were so fundamental. The number one thing is a bathtub. And I know that's not really that big a deal. And when I'm living in the States, it's not like I take a bath all the time. Most days I'm showering, but I don't have a bathtub here, and very few places have a bathtub here.
I have a bathtub. Sorry, I had to rub that in.
Yes, but you
And
also
you
have
can
a water issue.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's better now. The water we were having a problem. This is not interesting. But anyway, you can come over.
No, tell us what the problem was.
I think the problem was that the hot water heater was full of calcium, which is a typical Rome problem. And so the water wasn't getting as hot as it should. It was getting warm, but not hot enough to take a bath. And I know because I tried. But that's all better now. So if you want to come over and take a bath, you're welcome to.
Then I'll take a bath and I'll have to go outside and walk home. It's just not the same.
I know. You're right.
Plus, I'll hear you guys moving around outside. But yeah, because bathtubs are kind of not typical around here where we're living, and even hotels that I go to when I go stay other places, even they often don't have a bath. I am just really looking forward to that tub, and particularly that first bath that you take when it's colder. Because in Rome, it's never really that cold. So you don't get that middle of winter feeling that you can get in the United States, almost everywhere in the United States, except for maybe Florida and Texas.
In California.
Yeah.
So just bathtub, or are there other things?
No, there's other things. I'm looking forward to, and this is maybe just my lack of inventiveness here, but I'm looking forward to a wider variety of food cuisine.
Oh, absolutely. That's not just you. That's absolutely understandable, for sure.
And I love pasta, don't get me wrong. And pizza, I was never a big fan, and now I'm a much bigger fan than I was. And it's not like you can't get fruit and vegetable here and different kinds of meats, but in general, you eat pasta every day or pizza every day as just a part of your going about your life. And part of me is looking forward to getting back to Seattle, where I normally live, where there's Thai food and there's so many different kinds of good Asian food. Vietnamese, there's excellent seafood, there's
Mexican food.
Mexican food.
I miss Mexican food so bad. I make whoever I'm staying with in the States, whenever I go back, I force them to take me to Mexican food almost every time because I miss it. Real authentic Mexican food, which you just can't get over here. I'm sorry. I don't think you can get really good Mexican food anywhere in Europe. I've had some in different cities and it's just not the same.
Actually, before I moved here, we must have eaten Mexican food every other day, just in anticipation of that fact, knowing that this is it. And even here, there's specialty grocery stores where you can go get your flour tortillas and you can get your spices, and even then it's...
And your hard shell tacos.
I know, but even then it's not that great.
No, it's never the same. I don't know what it is, but it's not the same. So Mexican food and in general, international food and a bathtub.
A bathtub. And maybe just a little bit more peace and quiet. The people that live here in Rome tend to just be louder, as we've talked about. And I come from a very nice and proper and quiet city, which is not without its loud times, of course. But there are pockets to go to that are quieter. And there are pockets here, too, but there are more where I'm from. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Where are those pockets in Rome? I haven't found one.
Well, even the birds are louder. So...
Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, and it's not that I don't like it. It's just that I am looking forward to. I'm wondering actually if when I'm sleeping, if the quiet's going to be almost too quiet when I go home.
Yeah, well, my father used to live in basically the middle of the woods on the Olympic Peninsula. When I used to go home and stay with him, I felt that. Where is everyone? You miss the constant whir of noise underneath everything, that whir of noise. But I mean, I don't miss it. It's unusual that it's not there. Yeah. So I get it. I get that.
It could be that I just had a really rough night last night as far as how loud it was because the pizza place that I live above had about, I don't even know why they put out so many tables last night, but they had twice as many as usual, 14 tables outside around 2 a.m. Besides the people just screaming all night long, just going up and down the street. Around 2 a.m., some large vehicle of some kind just parked outside and idled for a good 20 minutes. And then while that's happening, it must have been 2 because the pizza place starts dragging the tables across this cement. I don't know. It just had been so loud compared to what had been the last few days that I was thinking back at my apartment in Seattle, it would be so quiet right now.
True, but would you have an amazing medieval church right down the street?
No, that's the thing.
It's give and take. You can't have it all.
I know, and it's making it sound like I don't like it here. We're talking about the long-term vision of knowing that I'm leaving someday.
Well, then tell me some of the things that you're going to miss.
Well, we should cover what you miss about the United States.
Okay.
Do you miss anything after being here for so long? Besides Mexican food, of course.
Of course I do. I miss a couple of specific things. I miss the service that you get in the United States, particularly on the West Coast, I have to say. But in general, the service in the United States is much better. I'm talking about in grocery stores, in shops, on the telephone if you need to call a company, in the bank especially. I cannot over-express how much I miss the kind of service that you get in the United States. Waiters and waitresses. I'm so used to being treated badly now that whenever I go there, I feel like I want to like hug these people. No, really, when I was in the United States about a year ago, and we went in, my husband and I went into this shop. I think it was a DKNY shop. The 2 girls who were working there, I felt like they were the nicest people I had ever known. Now, of course, I know that some of that was their professional persona that they put on, which they're told to do and they have to do. But they were so incredibly nice. I just couldn't handle it. Almost the fact that they were being nice because it was their job and not necessarily because it was their personality, that almost made it more impressive. I realize how starved of that kind of service that I am. And I know that's not the most important thing in the world, but you do miss it. You really do.
I wonder why the United States has such a good, helpful service record as far as employees go.
I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that most people, at least in retail, work on commission. And obviously, if you work in the food service industry, you work for tips. I think that's a huge part of it. I don't know, because I have never worked in retail in this country, but I doubt you work on commission here. You work on hourly wage. And I'm sure that hourly wage is not very good. So unless you're the owner of that shop or the child of the owner of that shop, you really don't have much incentive to treat people nicely, because at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything for you.
Well, except that it might make your day more pleasant and fun.
Yeah, but without being critical, most Italians don't think like that. I'm sorry, I don't want to like stereotype, and I try not to do that, but my experience, at least with Italians in Rome, and maybe if you go to different places, it's different, but that's generally not the way people think. They don't think, oh, if I treat someone else better, it's going to make me feel better. I don't think that ever caught on over here.
All right. So did you hug him at the DKNY?
I didn't, but I bought a lot of stuff.
All right. What else?
It's the food, the international food, exactly what you said. It's the service. And there's always one other thing, and I can't remember what it is now. I know what it is. It's the sales. So this is also kind of has to do with shopping. The sales in the United States are unreal. They're amazing.
What? How so?
How so? Like 60, 70% off. You go into a shop even if it's not end of season, anytime, there's always going to be something on sale. And when the end of season does come, they have these amazing sales, and you can get gorgeous clothes for a fraction of what they should cost. I go insane. Plus, I like the clothes in the United States. I'm not a big fan of Italian fashion. I mean, I like the high-end fashion, although I can't afford it. The middle-of-the-road fashion is not my style. It's a bit too trendy for me, as we've talked about. So I have a very difficult time shopping here. I don't really like to shop here. And I always say I hate to shop, but that's not really the truth, because when I'm in the States, I love it. So those two things coupled together, the sales and the salespeople, are one of the things I really miss in the States. And I have to be careful, because when I go back to the States, I end up spending way too much money.
Well, that's something we could look forward to if I go back to the States. You know me, I hate shopping.
But even in the States, you hate shopping?
Yeah, pretty much. I find it to be a very frustrating process. I don't know why. I just do. I mean, I like shopping at places like garage sales. I love doing that. Could do that every Saturday morning for hours.
Oh, no, I can't handle that. I can't handle like looking through racks and like in vintage shops. Like I love the idea of buying something vintage and having a great piece of clothing from the 60s or the 70s. But looking through the rack, trying to find something, I can't handle that. I don't like to look.
Going back, though, to the food issue, it really is nearly impossible to find anything outside of Italian food. It just doesn't exist.
Okay, wait. It does exist. Now, do you mean restaurant or
I mean
ingredients?
Restaurant. I'm sorry.
Okay, there's a big exception. Indian food restaurants.
True. And Chinese.
And some of the Indian food restaurants are very good. Now, I'm not going to compare to what you might find in London. But on the whole, I think compared to the other types of ethnic food in Rome, Indian food is something that they do really well here. But yes, other than that, you're right.
So, how do you do it?
First of all, it depends if you're a vegetarian or not. I am mostly vegetarian. I eat fish and occasionally I eat chicken, so I'm not a real vegetarian, but mostly. If you're not at all a vegetarian, there's actually no reason why you should always be eating pasta, because every single restaurant, you're going to have primi and you're going to have secondi. And the primi is mostly pasta, but also risotto, rice dishes, and maybe soup, something like that. And then you've got your secondi, which is almost entirely meat and fish, with maybe a couple of very substantial vegetable dishes like eggplant parmesan. So you really shouldn't have a difficult time avoiding pasta. Just order a second course and order a vegetable on the side. The only problem is it's more expensive. So if you're a budget traveler, it's harder. Or if you're, living over here and trying to save money, then in that case, it's harder. But I do hear a lot of tourists say, oh, I'm so sick of pasta. I'm so sick of pizza. And I think, well, you turn the page of the menu to the secondi section, because it's full of dishes that have no pasta or pizza in them.
But what about you, though? Because you eat pasta and pizza almost every day.
Well, I do. I wouldn't say every day. I used to be.
I said almost every day.
Yeah. Well, I tend to eat a lot of big salads with a lot of ingredients in them. Very American thing. So I'll often have that. Not as often as I should, only because I'm a little bit lazy. The pasta is because it's easy. It's easy, it's cheap, it's fast. That's why I make pasta so often. But I always liked pasta, so I don't get sick of it. Like, I don't want to have it for breakfast, breakfast.
No?
I don't want to have it for lunch and dinner. That's a bit much, but I wouldn't mind having it once a day.
Yeah, I'm not sick of it either. That's the interesting thing. I thought I would be, but I'm not. I am going to miss the pasta when I move home.
Yeah.
And I'll probably eat more pasta, except you won't be able to get as good of pasta back home because that's one thing they can't do very well in the States is Italian food, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah, I don't.
My experience.
I have found very few truly authentic Italian restaurants in in America. And I don't necessarily think that's because the people who are running those restaurants aren't capable of it. Americans have a different taste from Italians, and Americans are used to a different type of food. So they want their Italian food to be Americanized. So they want it to have lots of ingredients in it, a little bit too salty, a little bit overcooked, because that's what they like and what they're used to, more precisely. I met someone who ran a restaurant and they said, no, if I made Italian food the Italian way, people wouldn't like it. People wouldn't come here.
There you go.
I guess you'll have to just make it yourself.
You know, we may have to wait till next week to talk about what we'll miss about here. Or even, maybe we should even do that closer to when I'm actually leaving. Weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks from now.
Okay. Well, then we should end with a few more things that you do miss about the States then.
American coffee. I would say that.
Really?
I know. I really like the cappuccinos here, but I am looking forward to being able to brew just a pot of black coffee. Because I like black coffee. And I, generally speaking, don't even drink black coffee during the week. I only drink it on the weekends. But I miss just being able to brew a whole pot and not having to brew a shot of espresso and mixing hot water with it, because that's a different thing.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know it's not the same.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to better internet.
Wow,
But that's mainly because of my personal internet situation in Italy, which is brilliant in some ways. I'm just buying it from the phone company using this little modem thing. I can take it anywhere. I can go to any cafe I want. And as long as they have cell service, I have internet, which is fantastic. But I never realized how much internet you use until you pay for it by the gigabyte. And then all of a sudden, my family back home wants to Skype a particularly big program. And so if I Skype with my family, 20 minutes go by and I've lost the whole gig.
Wow.
So if I only have 15 for the whole month, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So it has me doing things like running all over the city, trying to find a place where I can use free internet to Skype with them. Anytime I have a better connection anywhere, I'm downloading like anything I can think of. Every podcast I could possibly want. I'm downloading as much material as possible so I don't have to do it at home. I'm really looking forward to not having to deal with that anymore. Or having friends over, like my sister being here, and she's using our Wi-Fi network and being like, no streaming a video on Facebook, stuff like that. I actually think that the internet seems to work better here than it does in my particular neighborhood back home. But I am looking forward to not having to be the internet police with everybody around me.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think of one more thing I miss. All I know is whenever I go to the States, and I usually go to my mom's house, and I open her fridge, it's full of all of these unusual things like pepper jelly and mango chutney and pineapple salsa and gourmet, like odd concoctions. She's got some dip that's made of, I don't know, something green, but it's amazing. 12 different types of cereal and 12 different types of croutons. I don't know, just the variety. And I'm not talking about just international cuisine, but what you actually find in the grocery store. It just, I feel like I'm in some resort, all you can eat resort, like a cruise or something, with all of these amazing things to eat. And I always put on weight when I'm in the States, but I do definitely miss just being able to have exquisitely delicious, unusual things to eat, because Italian food is delicious, don't get me wrong, but unusual, different snack foods. This is the thing America does well, is snack foods.
Yeah, that reminds me, popcorn. I'm going to really eat a lot of popcorn when I get home. Well, not that there isn't any here, but I don't have a microwave, so I can't microwave any popcorn.
You don't need a microwave to make popcorn. All you need is a pan with a lid.
That's true, but I haven't seen popcorn kernels anywhere.
I know that they're around. I'm sure you can find them in the supermarket. If you just have to ask. That's what you have to do.
Oh, that's another thing. I'll end with this, I guess. This is a question that I have in my mind of whether I'm going to like this or not. But I think it's going to be a very strange moment. The moment I go back into a society where everybody is speaking English around me. I haven't gone anywhere near the United States since I got here. And so I wonder what it will be like to go back. And in some ways, I think it will be a relief But in other ways, I think maybe it'll be annoying. Maybe it'll be like overhearing really inane conversation all the time or something like that.
Yeah, no, I remember when I first went to France for the first time when I was 14, and I was practicing my French, and I wasn't very good, but I could say things and I could make conversation. And I came back after only maybe 3 weeks or something. I came back to the States, and it was the day after, and I was in a park somewhere, and I was going to go buy something, and I was standing there, and I was going in over my head how I had to say it in French. And I thought, wait a second, I don't have to say it in French. I'm back in the States. It was a funny moment for me. The first time I did the returning to your native tongue. And it does take a while to get used to.
Yeah. It does highlight people who make a conscious decision, like yourself, or a lot of immigrants to the United States make a conscious decision that they're going to stick it out and go through those mental flip-flops forever. I mean, obviously it gets easier. But, I mean, it is a big, big commitment. And it's a commitment that I don't have to make.
Lucky you.
At least not yet. Unless it turns out that I stay longer, which remains to be seen.
But even if you do stay longer, it's still going to be definite. It's not going to be an infinite amount of time. Right?
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe you'll stay forever. That would be my fantasy.
All right. Well, we better leave it there. I'm Katy Sewall.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
See you next week. This is The Bittersweet Life. If you're coming to Rome and you want to walk the city with your radio friend Tiffany, she gives amazing tours. And you could reach her anytime to set something up. Just visit her blog. It's thepinesofrome.blogspot.it. And I realize a motorino just went by in the background. So you could just Google the Pines of Rome, and that would work just fine. No need for useless memorization, right? You should come to Rome just to take one of these tours. Talk to you next week.